Welcome. It's so good to be with you on this Wednesday as we get together for a little midweek Bible study and devotional time. And I'm so glad that you've chosen to join us today to do just that. We are continuing in our study on Wednesday nights of Jesus' words in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapters 5 through 7. And we've been looking at that as well on Sunday mornings, going a little bit more in depth. And I hope you'll come join us on Sunday mornings for worship time. We do have Bible class before that, or Bible study before that at 9:30, and then worship time at 10:30. And we also have another Bible study on Wednesday nights at 6:30, and I hope that you'll come join us for those times. But we're also glad it's good to be able to get together online, and I'm glad that you have joined us to do just that today. So today we come to, as again, we're looking in the greater context of the Sermon on the Mount. Today we come to Jesus' words, specifically in Matthew chapter 5, verses 38 through 42, when he speaks on the subject of integrity and honesty. And here's what he says. He says, again, you've heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot even make one hair white or black. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. You know, integrity and truth-telling seems to be a lost art in our world. And yet it's at the very heart of what is required to, not even from a spiritual standpoint, but just a practical standpoint, to make a society healthy and safe and prosperous. Students cheat on exams and papers at their school and colleges, and schools and colleges then lie to accrediting agencies about their students' GPAs and job placement rates. Journalists get caught and have to confess, to making up quotes from people that they never even interview. They're just, trying to push an agenda. Husband or wife gets caught and has to confess all the lies that they have been telling over the course of weeks, months, years to hide a long-standing affair. And, we appoint committees and panels to investigate the adequacy of regulatory mechanisms for things like Wall Street and tech companies. We put compliance offices in place for businesses really of all types. One writer I was reading about claims, as he's done some research on corporate life in America, and one study on his research shows that somewhere between 10 and 20%, and I know that's a wide variance, but he leans toward the higher percentage, but at least 10%, 10 to 20% of the payroll of the typical corporation is spent for people whose job it is, their sole job, is to watch its own employees and its suppliers and its customers for fraud. That is the totality of their job. And yet the reality is that integrity and truth-telling as a way of life cannot be crafted by laws and mandated by, courts and the things that we put in place and codes of ethics and stiff fines and jail terms or any of those things. Personal integrity as a way of life comes about only from the heart of a man or a woman who chooses the path of godly character and integrity and honesty. I saw a story with the headline, Moron Turns in $140,000. That's the headline. Moron turns in $140,000. And the headline was in reference to a story, this was several years ago, in which a man named Eli Estrada, who's a 40-year-old Palm Beach resident, found a bag containing $140,000 in unmarked $20 bills. Mr. Estrada certainly could have used the money. About 6 months prior to that, he opened a landscaping and artificial grass business and was in debt because of that. And on top of that, he was supporting his mother, who had moved in with him the previous year because she had lost her home. Financially, she couldn't afford her home. And so he took her in and was helping her. And yet, instead of keeping the money, Mr. Estrada went straight to the police and turned in every single penny of that $140,000. Apparently a Brinks armored truck somehow had lost the money, and Brinks did reward Mr. Estrada for his good deed by giving him $2,000, not exactly $140,000, but $2,000 is nothing to sneeze at. So the question though is, was Mr. Estrada really a moron? Well, only if one views such values as honesty and integrity as foolish. But what about a cheap reward that was offered? Well, some said if they knew the reward for turning in the money would have been so small, then they would have just kept it, right? They would have kept the $140,000. But do we have to be financially rewarded for doing the right thing? Are our values so degraded that we feel we deserve a reward, quote unquote, for doing what ought to be done in the first place? But back to Mr. Estrada. A moron? Crazy? Hardly. Here's a man who demonstrated that he had sufficient intelligence and sufficient mental capabilities to know that some things are just more valuable than money. Things like integrity, honesty, and doing the right thing. You know, we're often put in situations where telling the truth and being people of integrity may put us at a distinct disadvantage or cause us to seemingly, quote unquote, miss out on some benefit or gain. And in those situations, it can be quite easy to sacrifice our integrity in order to fit in or to get that job or get that promotion or to get what we want or what we think we might deserve in a certain situation or whatever it may be that we might perceive as a gain if we just compromise our integrity a little bit. But while the world may think it crazy, and it may seem to put us at a disadvantage, at least in the world's eyes, in reality, integrity and honesty really puts us exactly in the perfect advantage and opens us up to far greater blessings and benefits because it puts us firmly in the will of God and at the heart of what Jesus calls us to be, people of integrity and character. I hope you have a great day. God bless.